Animal Magnetism, exploring animal care for creatures great and small, conservation and preservation in today's world. Find out what a single voice can do to make a difference in the lives of animals. Animal Magnetism with Carolyn Hennessy starts right now on UBN Radio.
Hello, all of you out there in podcast land. I am Carolyn Hennessy, and I am your host for this episode of Animal Magnetism, which should have been, in fact, I thought it was going to be, an entire episode devoted to our second, it would have been our second homage to Seaworld, our second episode in our homage to Seaworld. But this particular episode is going to be a little short Seaworld, and we are going to be having a chat after these clips with our very, very dear friend, co-host, my animal mentor, the Alpha and the Omega, Dr. Grace Stafford, who is with us. I'm also joined by my co-host for these episodes, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it might become a permanent thing. Tracy Powel, hello, and thank you for being here. Andrea Compton, not missing in action. She is once again behind the scenes, my producer and my, I guess now the third co-host, the original and the third, and she is up doing her thing outside of Seattle. So we miss her every time she is not here. But you've got Tracy and Gray and I today, and so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the last 15 minutes of last Sunday's show, which is a wonderful conversation that I had on the boat coming back from releasing sea lions back into the water after they had been rehabilitated by Seaworld Rescue, and what a wonderful job they do. And it's just a conversation that I had with Jody Westberg, who is, again, like the Alpha and the Omega of Seaworld. Awesome. She's incredibly awesome, of Seaworld Rescue. And it's just a thing about tips that you can do in your own life to help further the conservation movement and therefore the preservation movement. A little bit more about what Seaworld Rescue does and the philosophy behind it, this amazing philosophy that this corporation has. And tacked on to the end of that is going to be about 7 minutes and 30 seconds of what I thought was going to be, again, an elongated episode, but it's Tracy and I and the Seaworld Rescue team on the rocks at La Jolla Cove or La Jolla Beach, and talking about the sea lions that come up and sun themselves on the rocks, the moms that are nursing their pups there on the rocks, and one sea lion in particular, which is the whole reason for us to have gone there. They got a call that there is a sea lion with netting wrapped around its neck, and apparently it had been there so long that the netting was starting to kind of cut into the flesh of the sea lion. And so they got so many calls, which is kind of wonderful in a way, because it's the public becoming involved, but the public doesn't necessarily know what to do, how far to go, how far can they get, how close can they get to that sea lion. And so they call Seaworld Rescue. And it's a very interesting 7.5 minutes as to them making the call as to, can they go out and try and get this sea lion, bring it back into SeaWorld, back into the rescue area, and try and cut this netting off, rehabilitate it, and then send it out. And it's going to be interesting. You will see what the decision was that day. And why. And so it's not black and white. There are so many factors that play into the rescue of an animal. So let's take a look at, first of all, the last 15 minutes of the first episode of my love letter to SeaWorld, and then those 7 minutes of us trying to determine whether or not they can rescue this particular sea lion. So take a look.
I know, I'm kind of overwhelmed. I'm so overwhelmed with today. And this is the second time I've done this. So you would think I'd be old hat at this, but no, I get very, very emotional.
I was just going to say, so I saw you getting a little emotional, and I know why I do. I'm a big crier when it comes to rehabbing these animals.
But you do this all the time. This is your life. This is what you do. You get them, you make them healthy, and then you send them back home, and it's like they kind of become your kids in a way, you know?
I always say it's like parents sending their kids off to kindergarten for the first time. That's the feeling where you know you've done everything you can do for them. You've given them the skill set, and now it's up to them. Like, that's what it is for, I think, all of us when we return the animals back to the wild.
Right.
It's our favorite thing we do. It's like sending our kids off to school. One of the things people will always ask us, too, is when you rescue these animals, don't you become attached to them?
Yes.
And we do, but it's different because we know from the beginning the entire goal
Is to get them back out
there.
there.
Yeah, because it really is a second chance at life. For some of them, it's a third.
It's a fourth chance.
Yeah. So in that aspect, yes, we're attached to them, but the best moment for us is always what you did with us today, and that's returning them back to the wild.
I think your attachment comes.
So I want to know what was making you emotional about 73, the shark bite going back into the water.
Well, just the fact that, you know, you go up against a shark and your odds of getting away are just really slim. But he did, and it's extraordinary. And now I just don't want him to meet up with a shark again.
We say,
you know,
he's a survivor.
I think I got very emotional when I was actually talking to him, because you just have a sense that they know that you care for them so much.
They look back. Yeah, no,
I think it's why I just get I am befuddled. I am absolutely befuddled by the individuals who, when you go and you try and save these animals, throw bottles at you and throw rocks at you and spit on you. And it's not even that I'm angry. I'm just stunned. I'm just absolutely stunned at the lack of thought that goes into the big picture in what you're trying to accomplish. And it's because you're doing, it's nothing short of, because when they are all saved, we are saved. And when they go, we go. And
I always like to say the sea lions are speaking to us, because when you think about them, they are a mammal. They're like us. They're mammals. They're going in the same ocean water we're going in. They're eating the same types of fish and food that we're eating. Everything that impacts them impacts us. And if we don't listen to what they're saying, that we are seeing more toxins in the blubber layers, we are polluting not just their ocean home, but our ocean home.
We're polluting everything we eat that comes out of the ocean. And people don't realize that. People just consume things like sushi and sashimi and it just, I mean, it's just, you know, it's just like in the pie hole. Without even realizing that everything that's draining from civilization into the ocean is turning it into a sewer, and we're consuming what comes out of that. And it's and the only way we're gonna be able to clean it up is to understand what's going in, and one of the best ways is with our seagoing friends.
Like when you saw today when that sea lion looked you in the eye and you looked back, you had that moment.
Oh, please.
No, but I also
I become you blubbering. I blubber. I'm a blubbering fool.
I'm holding it in. But
well,
it also,
better than I am.
It's a great moment. I always look at it too as now it's a great moment for us to be able to talk to people and tell them what can they do different to help this wildlife out in the wild. True. Because I think people always think it has to be some big grand gesture, and it's way too hard to help wildlife.
Small things.
Small things they can do every day in their life, and
and they add up.
And if you just make one change, if everybody just today made one change.
If everyone today got a metal straw. Well,
I like to talk toilet time, because that's what gets my nephews, is talking about the toilet.
Okay, let's talk toilet time. I would love everybody to go on Amazon and get a metal straw.
Yes.
And reject plastic straws when and wherever you see them. It's a small thing, but as they say, it's just a plastic straw. Say 8 million people. So get a metal straw. But let's go back to toilet time.
So if you take a plastic jug and you fill it, let's say you take a half gallon or a quart gallon plastic jug and you fill it with rocks, you can now put it in the back of your toilet tank. It displaces a lot of water. Now every time you flush your toilet, you're usually using about a gallon less of water a day, and now you put a plastic bottle that's not going to find its way back into the landfill, and it'll live back there your entire lifespan. And if there's one change you made to help save our seas and save more water. Water is life. It's the heart of the planet. It's the heart of Seaworld. It's our heart. And there's one simple way you don't ever have to think again, and you've just saved some water.
That's right. Recycle, recycle, recycle. But that's a brilliant idea. How much trash do you usually pick up, like going on a run like this? I mean, we just picked up a Frisbee.
I can say I have never been on a return where we have been out returning animals to the wild where we have not come across some sort of trash and had to pick it up. One day, it was really close to World's Ocean Day, and it really hit it and made a statement with us. We picked up 8 balloons. And that was just
Mylar balloons.
Mylar balloons, and that's what we could see on the surface, and we were all thinking, what does that mean we're not seeing that's underneath? And just prior to that, we had rescued a sea turtle, and that sea turtle, for 4 days, defecated plastic. Jerky bags. The jerky bag was amazing, this poor turtle.
So when you're going to go to the beach, leave the campsite cleaner than when you found it. Make sure you it's so simple. Just pick up your trash, put it in a cloth bag, take it home, recycle what you can recycle, and then put the rest in the trash. But don't send it out into the ocean.
Yeah, reduce, reuse.
And think. It takes nothing. It takes nothing to recycle something. It takes nothing to get a cloth bag and just reuse it again and again and again. Don't ask for plastic bags. The steps are so small and they mean so much.
It's like a fashion statement too. I'm just telling you right now, the reusable bags come in every color, shape, size. I'm good looking, but I put on my reusable bag, I'm that much better looking.
Well, honey, you're a goddess anyway. You're everything.
You can just find simple things, simple tasks that everybody can do in their everyday life. And it'll help save our seas, help save the heart of the ocean, help number 73 that we just returned today. Because we want to return him in a place where he will be able to recover, and we don't want to return him into a place where he's just swimming in a bunch of trash.
That's right. Now tell me, what is the rest of your day when you are not releasing animals back into their homeland?
So one of the things I love best about this job, and I think everybody I work with does, is every day is different. We never quite know what we're coming into. But the first thing we always want to do is we want to check the rescue hotline. So if there's any new calls that have come in, if there's any animals in immediate need that we need to go out, we also need to check on and take care of the animals that are currently in our rehabilitation. Right. That's one of the most important things we do, is go through and check on everybody. How did you do throughout the night? Or there may be a team member here, because some nights we do have animals that require 24-hour watches. So we may be coming into a team member that's been here through the night with an animal. And then the day just starts. We may be returning animals back to the wild like we did today. We may be rescuing more animals, or we may just be providing care for the animals that we've rescued that really need it. And these guys require, I always say what we do, it's emotional, it's mental, and it's physical. These guys require a lot of care. And the people that work here do what they do because they're passionate about it. It's not just a 9 to 5. They're here because they want to help these animals.
And this also isn't your typical 9 to 5. This is not a desk job. This is, and I think we also have to really kind of reiterate, no one's getting rich here.
No.
I mean, this is, you do what you do because you love the animals so much, not because you love, putting massive amounts of money in your pocket, which we all love, but the bottom line is that your priority are these animals. I know zookeepers, trainers, these are not...
Your family understands too, because I remember one of the Christmases I worked, we rescued 8 animals that day, and we came in early in the morning, and we were here till a little after 9 that night, and it was Christmas, and that is one of my, I get teared up thinking about it.
Oh, good girl.
That was one of my favorite
club.
Christmases. Like, I miss my family and I love them, but I know they supported what we were doing. And that day, we rescued 9 animals Christmas Day. And that's what we're here to do. The 4th of July weekend is coming up. There's going to be a lot of people out on the beaches, and the 4th of July weekend will be busy, because we do also have to learn to share the shores. That is one of the reasons we do boat returns and not beach returns, because in San Diego County, a good majority of the beaches are very populated. And we want to set these animals up for success. And I think that in the world of selfies, that's one of the things we need people to realize. Enjoy wildlife from a safe distance. It's their home. It's somewhere we like to enjoy too. So it's just all about sharing the shore and sharing that space. And the more people that are on the beaches, the more it pushes. For example, the other day, 3 little sea lion pups into a crevice where their mothers couldn't get to them. If we hadn't come in and gotten a phone call and gone to rescue them,
because those
animals would have drowned.
Because people were trying to get selfies with them.
Yeah, their heart's in the right place and they want a picture with the wildlife, but they just take a picture of the wildlife from a safe distance. And then it is people that call us and alert us to these animals. That's why we know those animals were there. But there was a lot of people, and we needed to talk to everybody about just keeping a safe distance so these moms and sea lion pups can be on the beach and we can all watch and enjoy them.
You know, my initial response is I tend to go towards people are just, they want what they want when they want it, instant gratification, and there's a self-centeredness. It's like, no, this is my world, and everyone's just kind of rotating around it. But I think I am incorrect in that, and that you are correct when saying, you know what, enjoy it from a safe distance, but you have to know that this animal is frightened, that this is their home. We are just guests, and once people are made aware, I think I hope the majority of people will go, oh, you know what, as much as I want a selfie with that sea lion, it'd be so cute. It'll be just, something for the, folks back home or wherever.
We see that a lot when we're able to educate people and talk to them on the beach, so they understand, and that's sometimes all it takes is just a simple conversation.
Yep.
And that's why I always feel like we as people have done a lot to hurt the planet, to hurt wildlife, but we as people are also going to be the ones to make that change and save the planet and save the wildlife. And it just comes down to that one simple change every single day, and just being aware of it. It's about awareness.
It's about knowing, because once you know something, you really can't unknow it. And if you continue to act in a way that is not beneficial to the planet, well, then that's on you, and that's something different. But most people, I think, when they're made aware, they just aren't aware, and so it's like, oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah. And they're getting close to the animal and the wildlife because they are enjoying it.
Right.
They want to be part of it. They want to experience it.
Well,
it's just a matter.
Well, that's the beauty part, because there are very few people like me. There are very few civilians that come back and are able to go out on a rescue boat and get an animal to actually, work with an animal in the rehabilitation process and then go and release it. Very few like that. But that's the beauty of the park. Yeah. That's the beauty of the park, because as I say, we don't care about what we don't know about. And once you know about something, and that's why, seeing these ambassador animals up close, you never know, but you've got the next, Seaworld vet tech sitting in that audience, and they see the interaction between a human and a killer whale, and this killer whale in this beautiful environment and being so pampered and so spoiled, and it's like, you know what? Oh, that's something so much larger than I ever thought about. Look at this beautiful animal. I want to work with that. So that's the beauty of this place.
That was me. I live my life very differently because of everything I've seen and been impacted by at SeaWorld. So, there's a little pup in the water.
Where?
Maybe that's your pup, Jonathan. If we come down this way, he dove under. We'll just keep watching in the water. So there's always sea lions down here too, but when it gets really busy, they all usually move off to these cliffs. There you can see, and then those cliffs over there.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow.
The area Jonathan was talking about where he hit the pup would have just been right down here.
You watching this?
One of the things we're having a problem with is because I shouldn't call it a problem. There's so many people down.
Are you looking for the sea lion with
yeah,
the? Okay,
he's down there.
Yeah, he's right down here.
Ah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
The people are just part of their natural everyday habitat. So when people call, well, he's not, and one of the things they'll say is he's not afraid of anyone.
Have a great day.
That's not so unusual down here,
right?
Because there's always people, so you're just part of their environment down here. They're not always scared. So all of these little areas have different names. So when we're talking to people, we can kind of figure out where we want to go.
Right.
So they're coming up on Alligator Rock. And right down here are the cliffs next to Boomers, or Boomers Beach area.
Okay.
In front of the Bridge Club, and that's where...
Is that that's called the Bridge Club?
It is the actual Bridge Club, yep. We'll take down here.
Okay.
This right here shows you the sharing of the shore.
Really slippery.
When we go for her, these guys are all going to be an alarm clock. And they're going to be a warning. They're going to let her know, and she's most likely going to get over the edge before we can get to her to get a net over her head safely, because we don't want to run. then we don't want her weight to take us up over the edge.
Right.
We also, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 7 newborn pups. Go on the beach, or they will come higher. But what's hard is when we come down to moments like this, when they're right on that edge in the wet rocks with nursing moms and pups in front of them. So it gets in that, I want to help this animal, I want to help it right now, but we need to. Yeah, because the minute, if we, so let's say we decide we want to go for it, it becomes very leery of us.
Sure.
And now the next, with the first, we want the first shot to be our best shot,
Right.
our only shot.
Right.
And you can, I just saw one over there. There's a couple of them here with the orange tags.
Yep.
And there's one right there. So here's some of the animals that have,
That we've seen before.
yes, either through.
That could be
our
one of the
rescue
ones we just
facilities,
rescued this morning.
or it could be one that up in North County, because you can remember that I said most of them kind of come between LA, Orange County, and us. They go back and forth. Now all the males are coming in. We figured out that this is where a lot of the sub-adult or the younger males come. It's almost like they're practicing, because most of the breeding happens out on the Channel Islands, so that's where most of the bigger boys are. So it's a little bit of a them feeling their oats.
Now all these pups look healthy.
Yes, they all look good. And it's kind of nice to see that most of them are paired up. That one that's not paired up, you can see that belly. Look at that big fat belly. He obviously has a mom somewhere. That one was just nursing. That little guy right there, nobody's quite next to him, but
He looks okay.
We don't want to just come down here and, oh, that one doesn't have a mom, and just take him, because mom's going to go out and forage. Yeah, we can go down this way. You guys can see some of the.
Okay. My God.
So nice. They do all love to come up, and the seawall really protects them. You know, they feel safe.
Right.
Then I'll show you a spot where now they're starting to climb over the seawall and sleep on the sidewalk. The sidewalk's warm, and they're great climbers. But that's where people are getting concerned, because they're climbing the sidewalk. And he might too. That's another thing where we kind of walk around and look at all the other animals, see if there's anyone else that might need help. He may move while you're here, but you can see he's scratching at it.
Yeah.
See, that red, we don't know for sure, but so that's most likely gillnet, because that's usually what we see when that's red, and a lot of times that's in the southern waters.
What just crawled out of the ocean?
And the big handsome twin.
People aren't stupid. Stupid zoo people. Look at that one's like talking to the water.
And in. Oh. And done. And we're in. There he goes. There he goes. He's had enough of us. Look at this.
Oh my God, he's like standing up. He. Squish that baby to go up there.
I hope she doesn't. That sounds like me at dinner time. So beautiful. Do you know what that? It's just elegant.
That way, it's a very awkward angle to try and come around and get that. It's not impossible, but now this pup's kind of complicated thing. It's just, these guys are going to start moving that way. We don't want the pup to get bowled over into the. honestly, if it was a foot this way, facing the other direction,
You'd do it.
I would say, yeah, we could probably go for it. But there's also this pup right here. These guys, they're complicated.
We also want to be safe for the team as well. These rocks are slippery, so to try to put a net around one of these guys, we don't want them to pull their weight or pull a team member in. So we're always thinking about the other animals around the team.
Okay, and we are back now in studio. Carolyn Hennessy, your animal magnetism host. Tracy Powell sitting in the studio with me. And yay, the Alpha and the Omega, Gray Stafford, calling in all the way from Arizona, from Phoenix. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Doing well.
Good.
What a great episode you've got last week and this week.
Yeah.
Some really interesting video and information.
So as you can see, there are many factors that go into determining whether or not they can or cannot bring an animal in. And as you saw, they chose. It was incumbent upon them not to try and rescue this particular sea lion with this gill netting because pups might have been disturbed. I mean, the animal was facing the wrong direction and it would have seen them coming and it would have dove over the sea wall and so on and so forth. So it's interesting and it's heartbreaking.
And it's extremely dangerous for the people
absolutely.
too when they go out there because of how slippery the rocks
exactly.
are. And the biggest learning thing for me as when I'm a civilian is that people encroaching on them push them further out. So that sea lion was not going to come in where it would be safe to rescue it.
Exactly.
And it was because of people being looky-loos, but also possibly trying to help. So
I know
you really need to back off.
It's true,
with the wildlife.
and we love the fact, right, Gray, that they want to help. Mm-hmm. They just don't know how, and they need to be educated, which of course is what this show is all about. Also the fact that as I believe we heard Jody say, some of the pups would have alerted this particular sea lion, this lone sea lion, to the fact that
and the moms protect the pups.
That's right.
So then that even stops people from getting.
Yeah, that's an important point. Sea lions will congregate together like that to bask, like you say. Mothers will kind of create nursery areas because there's safety in numbers. Sea lions aren't particularly social animals. They just tend to hang out together. And a large reason for that is that early alert system that you just alluded to. So, and Tracy, you're absolutely right. It's, 400 or 500 pound sea lion is potentially a dangerous animal. And I think a lot of times people might be frustrated or even angry that they don't go out and rescue that animal right away on that particular day. But there are valid reasons for why they don't.
Yeah, and I was excited to be there and have them be able to talk to the public. And then I began talking more and more to the public as if I was one of them.
Right.
Once I felt empowered enough to have the right things to say, because they were saying, did you see that? Do you know that that's happening? And we were able to say that's why they were called and we are here for that reason. And here's why we can't go out. And then hopefully that they're educated and that spreads to
and they will disseminate
people.
that information. It's like, well, why aren't they rescuing? Well, and it's incumbent then upon just a single member of the public to say, here's why they can't. I just learned this. Here's why they
Let's
can't.
back up.
And I think probably in the next episode we will give you an update as to that particular sea lion, and if they've snagged it yet, and we're able to cut this gill netting or this netting away from its neck, and I will make sure that we get an update on that particular. Yeah,
well, and also that they answered every call.
I'm sorry. Say again, Gray.
I was just going to say, sadly, this is not an isolated case. No. We have animals entangled by fishing debris and plastics and so forth every single day all over the world, and not just sea lions, but killer whales and blue whales and gray whales and all sorts of cetaceans.
Can you say vaquita?
Well, the other interesting thing about this is I think a lot of people in the public think that you can just take a rifle and dart an animal and anesthetize them and immediately immobilize them. And so this provides the opportunity to say, well, no, you probably don't want to anesthetize an animal that's swimming because it'll drown.
Right.
And those tranquilizers often don't work. And when they do work, they don't work instantaneously like they do in television. And I've had that conversation, I can't tell you how many times in my career, as to when an animal gets out of an enclosure at a zoo, for example, why they don't simply just dart it. Well, sometimes we're not given that option because the chemistry the technology just doesn't work like it might work in the movies.
Exactly. And with for instance, this particular sea lion, it was not actually in the water, but you dart it and it spooks and it doesn't, and that tranquilizer doesn't take effect. It goes over and then into the sea, and it could easily
There was
drown.
no way they could have gotten to her on time.
No. But it's fascinating again, and you're right. They answer every single call in that area.
I loved seeing that. That made me, I mean, I was already sold, of course, but I just loved seeing that so that I could go back and say, they answer the phone. Jody answered every single call that came in about any animal.
They are the crown jewel in the stranding chain in the rehabilitation and rescue network.
I've known Jody for years, and that's hard work because with every success story, there are many, many more that aren't successful.
It's true.
The animals don't survive their injuries or the illnesses, or they're too weak to even be rescued. They have to be euthanized on the spot, and that happens too, all too often and every day. And so that can wear on a person, just like we see the emotional fatigue for caregivers for people as well as for veterinarians and their clients. You can see that in the rescue community.
Gosh.
Absolutely.
Jody Westberg is, as far as I'm concerned, an Amazon. She's possibly one of the strongest individuals I've ever met. She's this kind of, I mean, as you see, this redheaded goddess, but she looks so tough. She's a cream puff on the inside. She's gooey marshmallow filling. But boy, when it comes down to it, she'll bowl you out of the way to get to an animal. And that's I think how big her heart is.
Yeah.
You are sold on Seaworld Rescue, Seaworld, the collection at Seaworld Corporation and what they do. But you are kind of new, my dear friend Tracy, to the animal advocacy world. Comparatively,
yes. I have always been an animal lover. I had a business that was dedicated to dogs and animals. I have always read up on it. I consider myself pretty educated about it in my little bubble.
Mm-hmm.
So as I would think you would agree, I jumped on with no questions asked. Like,
my God, it was a moving train and you jumped on.
Right. So, but yes, now I'm so excited to go out with even more information and armed with more information and names and,
facts, figures, statistics.
But but more specifically, who are the good ones? Who are the ones that are actually doing the work that they say that they're doing? Those things where you're inundated in the mail with people asking for your money, and to be able to now disseminate who deserves it,
right?
Who's doing the work,
right?
I feel, and I have so much more to go, but I do feel way more educated in that respect as well.
Well, you also have two great resources. You have myself and the great resource of Gray.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was asking you that immediately. But
how are these people? Do they put their money where their mouth is, or does it go into lawyers' pockets and slush funds? Yes, I know.
Or their own. Yeah.
Well, we definitely need your help, Tracy, because once again this week we had some tough news.
Let's talk about this. And this again, directly, indirectly, and directly, it relates to and affects Seaworld, and that is TripAdvisor. So, Gray, what can you tell us about this insane decision by TripAdvisor?
Well, TripAdvisor, obviously a big travel website, it has fallen along the same lines as Virgin Holidays and Thomas Cook, which is no longer in business, in that they've decided that there will be no more selling of animal-related attractions, particularly those related to marine mammals and cetaceans in particular. So if you're doing a dolphin swim at Discovery Cove, and I know you've done that, you've seen that experience firsthand.
And at SeaWorld.
They will no longer offer that as an option for their customers. And they made a big to-do about it this past week. And apparently they went to industry insiders and critics of the industry. But there's no one I know from within the industry that they actually spoke with. I'm still trying to figure out who they might have actually talked to.
Well, of course not, because they would have.
It's a bad problem.
They would have been given a whole slew of facts that contradict their narrative, their agenda, the activist agenda, and what contradicts the activist agenda is rational, realistic, and correct. So of course they're not going to want to speak.
So what if people want that as part of their package? They're going to refuse it?
I don't know, Gray.
They're not going to offer it. They're not going to offer it you won't see it on their website. They're going to phase all that out of their offerings on their website. So my advice to people is go to other travel sites.
So you can just go
stick with
elsewhere.
Expedia. I think booking.com is also good. That's the great thing. There's so much competition in the travel space. I really don't understand how organizations like this can just throw out all these accredited facilities that do conservation work, that do rescue rehab, like you just talked about, that we just saw for ourselves. It makes no sense because it really undercuts the goal, which is conservation, education, research.
Because they only got half the information, like you said.
Absolutely
they only got
true.
half
and
of
the thing is, what they don't understand is that ticket price. It goes not simply to keeping the collection happy and healthy and stimulated and energized. It goes to Seaworld Rescue towards keeping the wild population, happy and healthy.
All those calls.
Answering the calls, and it enables Seaworld Corporation to become a global influencer, to have like global conservation programs, and to extend the reach, not just in San Diego Bay, not just in Mission Bay, but across the country and across the world. And it funds research. It does so much more than go into the pockets of stockholders. Yes, SeaWorld's a corporation; it has to answer to its stockholders, but because of that, they're able to then go far afield. And TripAdvisor cutting off it. TripAdvisor is basically anti-animal. They are anti-animal. They are not pro-animal. They are anti-animal. By doing this, they have shown their true stripes. And they are aligned with PETA, which is, again, the largest anti-animal organization on the planet. So shame on you, TripAdvisor. Shame on you for turning your back on dolphins, killer whales, cetaceans of all kinds, and animals in general.
Turning your back on
you.
Rescue and rehab.
Rescue and rehab. And therefore, to extrapolate much larger, turning your back on all of us. Because when the animals go, we go. Simple as that.
And it got a little worse because now Airbnb is doing the same thing. They have this rather haphazard animal policy, and it essentially is going to do the same thing where they're not going to package together animal attractions, particularly with respect to marine mammals. So we need to celebrate those companies that haven't had the Kool-Aid, that understand that commerce done ethically and legally and so forth helps contribute to the rescue and rehab that you and Tracy had a chance to witness firsthand. Because sooner or later, someone's got to pay for that, right? Those animals washing up on the shores of California, someone's going to pay for that. And if SeaWorld doesn't step up and do it, and their stockholders don't allow for that, which they do, then the taxpayers are going to have to pay for that. Or some other philanthropic organization is going to have to do that in Southern California.
Absolutely. Or we will have a vastly larger number of animals perishing in the wild. And it's not nature taking its course. And I continue to reiterate that to my viewers, to my listeners. It's not nature taking its course, because we have so utterly fucked up the planet, and more specifically with regard to SeaWorld, the ocean. And that strip of ocean that surrounds, every single continent, that 2 to 5 mile strip, which is where 95% of the life in the ocean lives. Not out in the deep water. That's the other 5%, or 2%, depending on if it's 95 or 98. Whatever, it's small. The majority lives right off of Mission Bay, and we have so utterly turned that into a sewer with human waste, prescription drugs, hypodermics, condoms, filth of all stripes. And that's what they're swimming in. So no, these animals washing up on shore, netting around, fishing line. That's
emaciated
us.
From no food.
Say that again?
Many of them are emaciated from lack of food because
exactly.
The oceans have changed their pattern and they're warmer. So the sardines have moved further off the coastline, and the females, they can't get enough prey to nourish themselves, much less lactate. And so they're gone at sea further and longer, and the pups head out on their own well before they're ready to be weaned. It's a cycle we've seen for many, many years now in California, up and down the coastline. And the other tragic thing about this anti-conservation, anti-animal welfare position that Airbnb, TripAdvisor, Virgin, and so forth have taken is someone is going to have to make a decision on the beach whether or not to preserve that animal that might have a chance of surviving, or just simply euthanize it because there's no money, no resources, no facility to take them. And I have to believe that your well-to-do friends living along Malibu would be mortified to know that an otherwise savable animal is simply being euthanized on the beach because there's nowhere for it to go and no one to pick up the tab.
I have to believe
and that will happen.
I have to believe they would too. And maybe there needs to be some type of, I don't know, brochure or fundraiser or skywriting that says, give to SeaWorld, save the animals on your own beach. You know what I mean? There has to be a way to communicate this to the people who again, just as corporations like TripAdvisor and Airbnb have drunk the Kool-Aid, there are, as we know, celebrities, activists who have also drunk the Kool-Aid who don't want to hear it, but there are those who do. There are those who will listen. There are those who are smart and rational and realistic. And I have to believe that maybe they don't constitute the majority in this town, but their voices can be loud enough. So I
don't really even care if people donate to SeaWorld or other marine mammal facilities, conservation funds. Just get off our back, for God's sake.
Yeah,
get off
exactly.
our frickin'
Exactly.
back.
Exactly. You don't want to. Right. You don't want to necessarily support us. That's fine. Don't slam us at every single turn, especially when you don't know what you're talking about. And if you did know what you were talking about, you wouldn't be slamming us. Hey, catch 22.
And don't slam the people that want to support SeaWorld and want to support good zoos and aquariums and want to support conservation and those companies that support those organizations. Leave them alone.
Exactly.
Peddle your shit somewhere else, folks.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So by the time this airs, because this is going to air, Sunday the 6th, and when we're taping this particular, it's the 4th. It's Friday. And so tonight, Gray, at the Los Angeles Zoo, it's called Story Slam. And I am one of about 10 people. Most of them are directly affiliated with the zoo, either in the administrative offices or we've got trainers, we've got handlers, keepers. I'm the only one who's kind of peripherally affiliated with the zoo, but we are all telling stories of animals that impacted our lives. And I am telling the story of the wonderful elephant in Cambodia who so profoundly affected me. But I'm leading off with, once again, the story of how Gray Stafford reached out to me.
Changed your mind, right?
And said, no, he says, poor thing. Gray is always apologizing for what he did to me. And it's like, bless you, bless you.
Fault.
But for those who don't know the story very quickly, Gray reached out to me after I had posted a video on Twitter 12 years ago. And I did not have all the facts, and Gray, who is also and his wife are fans of General Hospital, yay, and said, "Oh, Miss Hennessy, thank you so much. Thank you so much for caring for the animals and being a voice and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Smart." And I said, "Because flattery will get you everywhere."
Made you keep reading,
and made me keep reading, and said, and the last line was, "You might want to know this." And then he listed the facts and how I was wrong, and I went nuts. And I said, "I must know who you are. Who are you? Who are you, fabulous man?" And so I'm going to lead off with that, my friend, and how.
And Tracy, she's been kicking herself ever since.
Kicking myself. She has ass.
She has not. And but I was thinking of that very story when you were just talking, because I did know that story, and I was thinking that's the kind of person that we hope you were talking about with the people who live in Malibu, who maybe misinformed and do definitely care, but don't have the right information. But we have to get a hold of the people who, like you, went out there, slammed whatever you slammed because you thought you were doing the right thing, but you heard the right
message
and changed your mind.
Exactly.
They have to just be willing to go, "Oh, we're all on the same page,
Right.
but now I have all the information. So now I will go in this direction
Right.
to actually make a difference.
Right.
You changed course
Changed
because
course.
of that.
And I wouldn't have even considered myself an activist. I mean, I wasn't even an activist. I mean, certainly
No.
not like the kind that I've envisioned or that I've met or encountered. But I wasn't as fully informed about the advocacy side. So God bless you. The thing who we have to get in touch with are the people who have heard the facts, heard the statistics with regard to the advocacy side, and aren't looking over their shoulder going, yeah, but if I align with you, I'll never work again.
That makes no sense to me.
But if I align with you, I'll have, so and so
They're
and so and so and so and so who will come down on me, and I need to, I know. Well, of course. Yeah. But this business of show is a fear-based business, especially these days. So
Well, and they need to hear from storytellers like you, because storytelling is how you really reach people and change their thinking.
But by the time this airs on Sunday night, it will have been determined whether I cried on Friday night or not in telling my story. I fully expect myself to cry. I will be bringing Kleenex.
I'm going to lay down some real money saying Carolyn sheds a tear or two.
Sheds a tear or two. Exactly. That's no bet. That's no bet. Please.
Yeah, I'm counting my money now.
Count your money.
Yeah, but who's betting against you? I don't know.
Yeah, nobody's betting against me.
No.
All right. I think we are coming to the end of another amazing animal magnetism episode. Andrea, God love you. We miss you so much. This show would actually not come to fruition every 2 weeks without Andrea Compton. So we all hail to our dear girl up in Seattle. Tracy, my new compatriot, my new partner in animal crime, advocacy crime, in all crime, of course. Also my escape room. Yes, and our next escape room that will make number 50. 50. 50.
Still not a year.
In 10 months.
Yeah.
10 months.
And in your spare time, Disneyland.
And we go to Disneyland a lot.
We try.
Why not? There's no reason why not. Why not? Grace Stafford, one of the dearest, best, most phenomenal humans I know. Thank you so much for coming on
with you.
every 2 weeks. That's right. You need animal training advice, listener? By Zoomility. I was about to say zookeeper in the room. No, that's I just combined two different names. Zoomility by Dr. Grace Stafford, PhD. Buy it. Your animal training troubles will disappear. But thank you so much again for being my staunch ally and my guru in all of this. I could not have done it without you. I would be foundering on the rocks. So bless you, and thank you for taking time today to come on with us and talk about everything that we've talked about.
You bet.
Really, really appreciate you. All right, that's it. So 2 weeks will be the third in our ongoing love letter to Seaworld Rescue and what they do. Don't forget this show, I know. This show is brought to you by Nutrient Touch, which is a division of Nutrient Body Sculpt, nutrientbodysculpt.com. Nutrient Touch is for animals, and it is a micronutrient, herbal, mineral bath for your pets. Dogs, cats, horses are the three main beneficiaries of this. And Maggie Hale, who was a hospice nurse, developed this for humans to reduce inflammation. And of course, when you reduce inflammation, you shed a few pounds. That's just a delightful byproduct. But she has now developed this for animals. Veterinarians are using it. People are experiencing wonderful, wonderful results. So if you have an animal, an older animal, an animal in distress that you think possibly has some inflammation, an animal that maybe you've given up on, Nutrient Touch can be found at nutrientbodysculpt.com. I strongly encourage you to check it out. You could have the life-saving micronutrients and minerals that you need for your particular animal. So go get nutrient touch for your animals. They will thank you. You will thank Maggie Hale, and of course, you'll thank me. So, and again, we also sponsored by Seaworld. We love our friends at Seaworld. All hail Seaworld, and especially Seaworld Rescue. Dave Kuntz, Jody Westberg, we miss you. We love you. We're going to come down and see you again real soon. But in the next 2 weeks, another episode of our ongoing love letter. So we will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you for watching this episode of Animal Magnetism. Always remember, in everything you do, cultivate the preservationist heart. It will stand you in such good stead. You will go a long, long way. I'm your host, Carolyn Hennessy. See you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.